Triller. Yeah, Triller's back again, innit? Triller. I thought it would have died out by now, you know, but it's still going, innit? Triller. Are you gonna pay for that? You can't be paying for that. You have to just try and stream it. You have to just stream it, you know, on some illegal stream. You can't be paying for this. It's about £10, you know, in the UK. So it's not worth paying for, is it? You know, Holyfield, he's old as fuck, innit? He's fucking old, man. I was watching him on the pads the other day, you know, and he looked slow as fuck, you know, really fucking slow. Just old and just, I don't know, he's lost it on it. He's about 58 years old though, isn't he? He's old as fuck. You know what I mean? And he got interviewed by one of those IFL fuckers and he was just sounding a bit messed up, you know, a bit punch drunk, a bit. I don't know if he talks like that normally, but, you know, some of the tough fights that he had, you know, against like Riddick Bowe, you know, those wars that he had with him, you know, it would have had an effect, wouldn't it? And that was like 30 years ago, so he's definitely fucked up, innit? So he shouldn't really be fighting right now. But I was like reading about him, you know, on Wikipedia, and you know, at first it started off like really positive, you know, saying he's won this title and he's won that title at this weight and that weight, and you know, and he's probably the best cruiserweight of all time and all this, and he won a lot in the amateurs and he made a shitload of money. But you know, the further down the page I went, it started to get a bit negative, you know, like saying, oh, he's been divorced 3 times and he had to pay out a shitload of money, you know, in the divorces, and it really stripped him of his cash, and he had 11 kids and he had to pay out child support to a load of baby mamas. And he kept falling behind, you know, with the child support payments, so he had to go to court, you know, and that kind of stuff. It's sad to see, you know, and his house got foreclosed, you know, because he couldn't keep up with the payments, you know, the mortgage payments, so he fucking had his house like repossessed. And you know, Rick Ross, the rapper, he acquired the house, he took the house over, you know, and Holyfield like started to get into debt. You know, paying out all that child support for 11 kids and getting divorced 3 times and all that. That's what I mean. It's, you know, when boxers are at the top of their game, yeah, they're going to have a load of women after them, you know, trying to get pregnant, you know, so they can get that child support. And, you know, trying to marry him and that, so they can get a nice little payout, you know, in a divorce court. So, you know, when boxers are at the top of their games, you know, they just get a load of pussy around them, don't they? And they get a load of women pregnant and they get married every minute, you know, and it fucks them up and they end up broke. And they end up coming back to boxing, you know, at the age of 58, like Holyfield. Fighting in Triller. He's fucking old as fuck and he's slow. He hasn't got it anymore, has he? That's why I like people like Lennox Lewis, you know, he kind of went out on top, didn't he? He had that final fight with Klitschko, you know, sliced him up, you know, bloodied him up. And Lennox, he could kind of tell, you know, that he was kind of like starting to fade. So he like quickly got out of there, you know, after that fight, after he won that, he just quickly got out of there. You know, and he kind of went out on top, didn't he, Lennox Lewis. But, you know, people like Holyfield. And I think Riddick Bowe, he's coming back as well. They just fucking... It's sad to see, innit? And like people say, this fight on Triller, you know, this Holyfield fight, they're saying it's just an exhibition, but it's not. It's a professional fight. This is an actual professional contest. You know, it shows up on Holyfield's box record. This fight is a pro fight. So it's not like an exhibition, you know, where they're going to be messing around. You know, that Vitor Belfort, he was like a big time MMA fighter, wasn't he? So he's going to try and mess up Holyfield. And he probably will. He'll probably fuck him up. Even though he's only had 1 fight, you know, as a boxer. He's 1-0 in the pros. Vitor Belfort. And the thing is, you know, Holyfield, he like failed a medical. You know, for this fight here, he had a medical and he like failed the medical. So then they like made the fight, you know, in a different state in America. You know, where he could pass the medical, you know, some little dodgy little medical board, you know, accepting bribes. You know what I mean? And they fucking passed him. So 1 medical board has like failed him. He failed a medical test, Holyfield. You know, they were saying he's not fit to fight. Now another one is in Florida, he's like saying he's okay to fight. So he could get messed up. He could get fucked up, man. You know, when you're fucking around with all these women and getting them pregnant and having loads of kids and paying out loads of child support and getting married and divorced, having all these fucking gold diggers all over you trying to marry you, trying to get the bag. It's no good, is it? It's no good, man. Yeah, Donald Trump's the commentator, innit? It's a bit of a surprise, that, innit? It's like a big fucking circus act, innit? You know what I mean? Donald Trump, the commentator. I don't know if he's commentating, you know, with Snoop Dogg. I don't know if those two are getting together, but yeah, Donald Trump. I like him, you know. A lot of black people don't like him, do they? They say he's racist, but I like him. You remember when he said grab him by the pussy? You know, I like that kind of thing, you know. I like him. I think he likes boxing as well. I've seen him with a few boxers, you know, in the past. So, yeah, we'll see how he gets on, innit? But yeah, I'm not going to pay for this. I'll just try and find some little dodgy stream, you know, to watch it for free. I'm not paying for this. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? You know, DAZN putting up the prices. You know, Eddie Hearn trying to squeeze money out of people. So I'm going to have to cancel my DAZN membership, I think. You know, there's a bit of rivalry in there, you know, between Eddie Hearn, DAZN and Sky Sports. There's a bit of rivalry in there. There's a bit of tension in there. Like, listen to this.
First of all, a reaction to Sky Sports and Boxer's announcement yesterday. Yeah, just a reaction from you to that, first of all.
I think it's great. I mean, great time for the fighters. And I think, you know, there's a lot of fighters there that are going to get opportunities that they couldn't have got elsewhere. You know, some of those are fighters that might have featured down on a card and now get a chance to headline and get more attention. Some are fighters that were fighting on non-TV shows are now going to get slots on TV show undercards. So I think it's great for British boxing.
Yeah, you see what he did there, Eddie Hearn. You see what he did. You know, he pretended to give a nice, friendly answer, you know, but he was being like really passive-aggressive, wasn't he? He was being all subliminal, you know, like he was giving like a little backhanded compliment. You know, he was basically saying, these fighters, when they were with me, you know, they were really far down the card and they had to make do with fighting on Facebook. You know, they weren't good enough to feature high up on the card. But now they've gone to Sky Sports. They'll be the main event. So you see what he did there, Eddie Hearn. He tried to be all friendly. He pretended to be all nice and friendly. You know, it's passive-aggressive behaviour in it from Eddie Hearn. It's subliminal. You know, he's indirectly having a go at Sky Sports. But, you know, Coogan, I don't think he's intelligent enough to see what's going on here. I don't think it's registering with him. You know, I think it's going over his head. I don't think he's got the intelligence, you know, to work out what's going on here with Eddie Hearn and these little subliminal, backhanded compliments. These little passive-aggressive little jabs at Sky Sports and the B-level fighters that they've signed up that couldn't get on Eddie Hearn's main cards and they had to fight right down the undercard. They had to fight right down the list. They were right at the bottom, weren't they, of Eddie Hearn's shows. But now they're the main event on Sky Sports. So Eddie Hearn, he knows what he's doing, don't he? He knows what he's doing. He knows full well what he's doing, don't he? You know, and it's like when Coogan asked Eddie Hearn about Sky Sports kind of signing up Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall, you know, and saying, oh, that fight could happen. Eddie Hearn was like, no, that won't happen. You know, I tried to make it happen, but I know what kind of money Clarissa Shields is asking for. So, you know, they're not going to be able to make that fight, but I hope they do. I hope they do make that fight. No, you don't. No, you don't. Because, you know, if Sky managed to make that fight, it's like Eddie Hearn's fucked up, you know, in his attempt to make the fight. It's like he's took an L, you know, not being able to make the fight, but Sky Sports have been able to make it. So, you know, him saying, oh, I hope Sky Sports are able to make the fight. You know, he's lying again, isn't he? He's being all indirect. He's being all subliminal, all passive-aggressive. He's not being genuine, is he? But, you know, Coogan, you don't know what's going on, does he, Coogan? You don't want that fight to happen. It's like fish eyes with a big dent in his forehead, you know, and Bob Arum, you know, being all happy when Joshua Fury fell through. You know, when Eddie Hearn was running around all over the place, you know, having meetings with DJ Prince Khalid. You know, trying to set up a venue in Dubai, you know, for Joshua Fury. You know, and fish eyes with a big dent in his forehead. And Bob Arum, they knew the fight wasn't going to happen between Joshua and Fury, you know, because of this little arbitration. And they were laughing at Eddie Hearn, you know, and they were glad, you know, and it all kind of fell through. So it's the same with Eddie Hearn. He's really hoping Sky Sports aren't able to make Clarissa Shields against Savannah Marshall. But he's pretending that he does hope they make the fight, innit? He's being all passive-aggressive again, innit, Eddie Hearn? And Coogan is not picking up on any of it, is he? He's just going completely over his head. You don't know what's going on, does he, Coogan? But yeah, Eddie Hearn, what do you think? You know, Johnny Nelson saying that Sky Sports don't need a front man. You know, and basically indirectly saying Eddie Hearn's not really needed. It's all about the fighters. What do you think of that? And Eddie Hearn saying it's not true. You know, they do need a front man. I agree with him on that, you know. Because, like, boxers, they can't be bothered to talk, man. They're not into all this media, a lot of them. You know, they can't be bothered. You know, Conor Ben, you know, in that interview with Coogan, he can't be bothered. He was like saying, I can't be doing with all these questions. Can't be doing with the press conference and all the media. Nothing to do with all this talking. I just want to fight, get paid, and go home. You know, and it's kind of true, innit, for most boxers. I used to box. I didn't really get to any great level, but you know, when you're training hard and you're dieting and all that, you just can't be bothered with all these questions, man. You can't be bothered. So I think a lot of boxers do need a front man. Yeah, like Eddie Hearn, fucking Sam Jones, yapping away. He's like Joe Joyce's mouthpiece, isn't he? You know, he loves talking, don't he, Sam Jones. So he's quite good for Joe Joyce. So yeah, I think boxers, they're not really big talkers, are they? Eddie Hearn knows how to promote, don't he? He knows how to hype things up. You know, there's a boxer on his show and he said, you know, this boxer, he was addicted to alcohol and drugs at the age of 12, you know, in the tough streets of Mexico. I don't know if that's a true story, but I'm going to go with it anyway. You know, he tries to make up little stories, you know, little interesting stories, don't he? You know, to try and make fights more dramatic. He tries to build it up, don't he? Making up stories about people being on drugs and fucking alcohol at the age of 12 in the tough streets of Mexico. He makes up stories, you know, to add a bit of drama to his events. You know, Mick Hennessy and Fish Eyes, they're not really that interesting, are they? They're not really that entertaining, are they? They're not good talkers, are they, like Eddie Hearn? They try and get on that level, but they just can't do it, can they? Hughie Fury shown shades of Ali, you know, that's the only thing you can remember, you know, Mick Hennessy ever saying. You know, he had to try and stoop to that kind of silly, desperate, attention-seeking level, didn't he? You know, to try and get to Eddie Hearn's level. You know, Eddie Hearn, he said Al Heyman, you know, he's Mayweather's manager, but he's not his promoter. So you don't have to sell Mayweather, but I think that's a bit different. Mayweather's a self-promoter, isn't he? You know, Mayweather, he didn't need a Don King, did he? You know, to promote him and hype him up and all that. He didn't need it, did he? Mayweather's a good marketer, you know, when he's got fights coming up. He's good at promoting, isn't he? You know, even his little roller skating events, you know, he's bringing Drake along, isn't he? And Usher. You know, trying to add a bit of star power, a bit of star appeal. You know, trying to add a bit of celebrity appeal, you know, to try and make it more interesting. But yeah, people like Mayweather, you know, they can promote themselves, and people like McGregor. These guys are self-promoters, aren't they? But most boxers aren't like these guys as far as promoting themselves. So I think most boxers do need a front man, you know, like Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's got a bigger following than most boxers, you know, his numbers, he's kind of hit the 1 million follower mark on Instagram, hasn't he? But most boxers haven't got that many followers. So Eddie Hearn, he's got a bigger profile, hasn't he? He gets himself out there, you know, as Has he been on Joe Rogan? I'm sure he has. No, it was True Geordie, wasn't it? Yeah, he went on the True Geordie show, didn't he? You know, getting on there and that, getting that exposure for himself and his fighters. So he gets himself out there, don't he? Eddie Hearn, you know, getting on the True Geordie podcast. Yeah, True Geordie gave me £100, innit? You know, on my YouTube live. It's quite good of him, innit? It's quite good of him, you know, just giving me £100 like that. It was quite good of True Geordie, wasn't it? You know, I want to try and pay him back, but, you know, me saying I'll go on your channel to pay you back, it's not going to fucking, you know, I kind of fucked up then. It's not going to work, is it? You know, he's interviewed Logan Paul, Jake Paul, KSI, Eddie Hearn, Chris Eubank Sr., Ricky Gervais, you know what I mean? So why am I saying to him, I'll pay you back for the £100 by being on your channel? You know, I kind of fucked up then, but forget it. He's got a big platform on it. So, you know, Eddie Hearn getting on there and like promoting himself and his fighters and his brand, his matchroom brand. It's what boxing needs. You know, a good front man. Some boxers can't really promote themselves, can they? I was like that, you know, when I used to box, like I couldn't sell tickets, you know, I couldn't really promote myself. You know, I didn't like sell tickets, so I had to fight people like Eubank, you know, at 4 days notice. Because I couldn't sell tickets, I couldn't promote myself. So, you know, having a promoter like Eddie Hearn, you know, talking, promoting, hyping things up, coming up with little fake stories to try and build events. You know, it's beneficial for boxing, isn't it? And for the boxers who he promotes. Ebony Bridges. Yeah, she promotes herself quite good, don't she? She's quite out there now, isn't she? She's quite good at promoting herself, isn't she? She might bring over a few casuals, you know, into boxing who love pussy. She might bring a few casuals in, you know, like Leeds United football fans who weren't really bothered about boxing. Now they're kind of bothered. Yeah, you notice how Coogan's like trying it on with her nowadays. You know, he used to be all over that Shannon Contley, didn't he? But then when she got a boyfriend, you know, Coogan like switched sides, didn't he? And he started like being all over that Ebony Bridges. She's got a boyfriend as well, but her boyfriend's all the way in Australia. So that's a long way away, isn't it? So Coogan, you know, because her boyfriend's far away, like Coogan's like started to like try it on with her now, hasn't he? You know, kissing her on her head like that, you know, trying to pretend that he's happy to be in the friend zone, you know, pretending to be a nice, friendly, supportive man. Do you know what I mean? But that's what Jimmy Savile used to do, didn't he? You know, he used to pretend to come across as this nice, friendly, charitable, compassionate man, but he was just acting like that, you know, for his own sexual gain. So it's kind of similar with Coogan, isn't it? You know, he's pretending to be nice and friendly towards Ebony Bridges, you know, pretending that he's happy to be in the friend zone, but he's not, is he? He's trying to lure her in, isn't he? You know, like Jimmy Savile used to. You know, like giving her a little kiss on the head, you know, to congratulate her after her victory, but it's a bit more seedy than that, innit, for Coogan. Yeah, what do you think of her fight anyway? Yeah, you know, Ebony Bridges, yeah, she kind of gets hit a lot, don't she? She kind of gets hit a bit too much, don't she? You know, her fights are quite interesting, you know, because they're kind of like aggressive, like front foot action. She hasn't really got much, you know, head movement or defensive skills, so she gets hit quite a lot, don't she? So she said that she looks up to those, you know, those Mexican fighters like Julio Cesar Chavez. She said that like those kind of fighters, those kind of aggressive Mexican fighters are her favourite kind of fighters. And you can kind of see, can't you? You know, the way how she tries to fight like that. You know, going forward and trying to be all aggressive. You know, taking loads of punches, but you don't want to fight like that. You know what I mean? She looks quite nice, don't she? But, you know, in a few years after having a few wars, she might end up looking like Jane Couch. You know, it's no good, is it? So, you don't want to be having wars and end up looking like Jane Couch. It's not a good look, is it? So, she needs to learn a bit of defense, you know, a bit of head movement, you know, and try and get hit less than she's getting hit now. Because she's getting hit too much, isn't she? You know, her eyes swelling up against that Shannon Company. So this Ebony Bridges, she's got a bit of heart, hasn't she? But she needs to like learn how to, you know, move her head a bit more, you know, become a bit more defensive. She might bring over a few casuals, you know, into boxing who love posse. But I don't really know if the casuals are needed in boxing, you know. I used to think they are. I used to think they're needed, man. I used to think it was beneficial, you know, to bring the casuals over to boxing. You know, these Jake Paul fuckers and Logan Paul fuckers. You know, these guys, I used to think, oh, these guys will bring a load of casuals to boxing. Yeah, it's going to be great for boxing. But I don't know if it's needed, because, like, think about it. I don't like cricket. Yeah, but does the person who's running cricket have to try and persuade me to like cricket and get involved in cricket and start watching cricket? They don't, do they? You know what I mean? They've got their audience. You know, they're in their own lane. So I don't know if you do have to appeal to the casuals. You know, cricket, it's a bit shit, innit? But they've got their audience, so it's probably the same with boxing. I don't think boxing needs to appeal, you know, to the casuals to keep boxing going. I don't know, just stick to what you like, innit? Stay in your own lane. If you don't like boxing, fuck off. If you don't like cricket, fuck off. Don't watch it. I don't think they need to appeal to the casuals, do they? It's whatever. You like what you like, don't you? But I think if there were more casuals, there would be more money involved, wouldn't there, in boxing? And the shows would be better. Like this Joshua Usyk undercard is fucking terrible, isn't it? It's terrible because obviously Eddie Hearn, he don't want to pay for a really good undercard. And Joshua, he doesn't want to pay for a really good undercard, does he? So who have we got here? We've got Lawrence Okolie versus Dylan Prazovic. You know, I've never heard of Dylan Prazovic. You know, I've never heard of him. That's a world title fight. Then there's Campbell Hatton. Yeah, that says it all, don't it? I don't need to say anything else. Callum Smith versus Lenin Castillo. You know, I've never heard of that fucker either. So the undercard's shit in it for Joshua Usyk. It's a fucking shit undercard, innit? You know, because Eddie Hearn and Joshua don't want to pay, you know, for a really good undercard. They want to keep the majority of the cash, don't they? But, like, you know, if there was loads of casuals, like, tuning in, they could make the undercards better, man, you know, and pay for some decent opponents. So I think boxing, yeah, it could do with a few more casuals getting involved, you know, to make these undercards better. Because that's a shit undercard, isn't it? Dylan Prazovic, Lenin Castillo. I don't know who the fuck that is. I don't know any of those fuckers. You know what I mean? Chris Eubank making his comeback against this fucking guy here. Who's that? Have you ever heard of him? Eubank. I can't believe I lost to that guy, you know. He's so fucking shit. He's just not good at all. I feel so ashamed, you know, to have lost to him. You know, he's 31 now. He's still fighting these nobodies. He's having warm-up fights to have warm-up fights. You know, Eubank, when he was asked if he'd fight Liam Williams, he was like, no, I've never heard of him. No, I won't fight him. I've never heard of him. You know what I mean? You know, but he's fighting this guy here who no one's ever heard of. So, you know, if he's going to fight him, you know he's heard of Liam Williams. Liam Williams is a 3-time world title challenger. You know what I mean? British champ. So Eubank, he's acting daft, isn't he? You know, pretending he's never heard of Liam Williams. So fucking fight him. If you're going to fight like some nobody, fight Liam Williams, innit? A nice domestic clash. But he's not going to do it, is he, Eubank? You don't want that smoke, I'm telling you. It's fighting this little nobody. It's no good, is it? I think boxing fans, I think they need to boycott these events. I think they just need to just say enough is enough now. I can't be doing with this shit. I'm not tuning in to watch Eubank fighting him after watching him fight Marcus Morrison and going 12 rounds. You know, with somebody that I smacked up in my last fight. People need to boycott these events, man. We're the fucking bosses, man. We're the fucking ones who should be saying, you fight him or you're not. We're not gonna tune in. We're gonna boycott your fights, you know, and you're not gonna, because the TV executives, they know when people are watching. So they'll be able to see how many people are tuning in to watch Eubank fight this little fucking nobody here. So, you know, if people boycott the fight, then these TV executives at Sky, they will know that we're protesting. You know, we're not having any of it anymore. We sat there watching him box that fucking clown Marcus Morrison, who I smacked up. So we're not watching any more bullshit. Yeah, fight Liam Williams or John Ryder. You know what I mean? Or like one of them Charlo brothers. Golovkin, Canelo, you know what I mean? Kell Brook took the fight. Got his eye socket smashed up, but put up a good fight up until that point. And then Eubank's laughing at him on Twitter, you know, saying ha ha ha, you know what I mean? Talking all this bullshit. Yeah, we need to boycott this Eubank, you know, we need to fucking boycott him. Enough is enough, man. Enough is enough. Yeah, you know Umar, IFL Umar. He interviewed Eubank, and Eubank, he was like talking about Billy Joe Saunders, you know, like pretending to have an eye injury, you know, so he could quit against Canelo. You know, he said, he was just pretending it was a fake injury. You know, we seen him driving around a week later, you know, as if there was no problems. If you've got a broken eye socket, you're not going to be driving around a week later, smiling and listening to music and having a good time. So what do you think of that? You know, if those two did fight again, yeah. You know, Billy Joe Saunders, do you think he'd like, you know, Seb Eubank, you know how he just died recently. Do you think Billy Joe Saunders would like try and get into Eubank's head, you know, by mentioning his dead brother, Seb Eubank, you know, to try and upset Eubank? You can say, that's a horrible thing to say. Of course he wouldn't do that, but I don't know, I think Billy Joe Saunders, he's kind of got a history of, you know, that kind of thing. I think I wouldn't put it past him, you know. You know, when there was a documentary about Daniel El Chapahan, you know, Billy Joe Saunders' advisor, you know, Barry McGuigan was like dissing Daniel El Chapahan. You know, after that, you know, him and Barry McGuigan, they were having like a backwards and forwards, weren't they? Billy Joe Saunders, he like posted something on his Instagram, you know, saying, post your daughter challenge. You know, because Barry McGuigan's daughter's dead. She died, didn't she? And some people were saying, it's, you know, he's gone too far this time, you know, it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary, innit? That's what they were saying, but I don't know, he does go below the belt sometimes, don't he, Billy Joe Saunders? You remember when he got his little son to punch William Monroe in the fucking balls, man? And he was a stud there, wasn't he, Billy Joe? You know, like he put him up to it. He was like enjoying it, wasn't he? He put him up to it, didn't he? Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I'd like to think that he won't stoop to that level, you know, of like bringing up Seb Eubank's death, but I don't know if I'd put it past him, to be honest. I think he's a good guy deep down. You know, when I interviewed him on my channel, I said that I was glad Gerald McLennan's in a wheelchair, you know, for being cruel to animals. And Billy Joe Saunders was saying, that's going too far, it's too extreme. You know, it's going a bit too far, that is, it's going too far. So I think he's a good guy. He said he'd pay money, you know, to have Gerald McLennan out of a wheelchair. So I think he is a good guy deep down, but I won't put it past him, you know, to bring up Seb Eubank, you know, in the build-up to his fight with Eubank Jr, if they ever fight again. But yeah, that'll do, you know. That'll do, I think. That'll do. I'll wrap it up, I think. Yeah, I've started smoking a few cigars, you know. You know, like Suge Knight. I've started smoking a few cigars. Who else smokes cigars? David Diamante. He smokes cigars as well, don't he? But yeah, you know, since I've started making a nice amount of money from these videos, I've started smoking these expensive cigars. You know how much this cigar was? It was £8. You know, for one cigar. That's quite a lot, isn't it? Just for one cigar. It's quite a lot, man, but they're quite nice. But yeah, I need to step these videos up, you know. I ain't done a video for about 2 weeks. It's too long, innit? It's too long, man. You know those IFL fuckers? You know, they're putting up videos every minute, aren't they? They're putting up videos every minute. You know, those IFL fuckers. You know what I mean? They've started to put like borders, you know, around their videos. You know, fucking borders. You know, trying to be all artistic and fucking creative. You know what I mean? It's too pretentious, innit? They're trying too hard to be really interesting. You know, with their fucking borders. Like, what's that? What's all that shit? You know, these fucking borders and Coogan, you know, in the fucking border, you know, just doing that. You know, folding his arms like he's some kind of fucking gangster. What's all that about? You know, he's stood there with his arms folded like that. Fucking, you know, with his tattoos as well, you know, trying to be all good looking all of a sudden. You know, with his tattoos. I don't know what he's fucking doing. Those IFL fuckers with their borders. But yeah, I need to step up my fucking video output, you know, like those IFL fuckers. But it's just, I don't know, boxing is kind of dead, innit? You know, Tyson Fury, you know, in that press conference when he was saying, yeah, I'm going to beat Beyonce Wilder, you know, and then I'm going to beat Dillian White in December, and then I'm going to beat Joshua early in the new year, then I'm going to beat him in the rematch, and then I'm going to finish my career against Cesaro. What's all that about? You know what I mean? Tyson Fury is saying that he's going to have 5 fights in 6 months. But he's only had like 1 fight, you know, in like 2 years. So, I don't know. You know, when he says stuff like that, it's just got to go in one ear and out the other, honey. You know, like when he said McGregor's training him for a fight in the UFC. And then Conor McGregor said that he's never ever spoke to Tyson Fury in his life. So that kind of made Tyson Fury look a bit silly, didn't it? It kind of made him look a bit daft, didn't it? So, you know, when he's talking about beating Dillian White, Beyonce Wilder, Joshua, Cesaro, you know, it's just got to go in one ear and out the other, on it, really. Can't really take it too seriously, can you? But yeah, that will do, you know. I'm going to wrap it up. But thanks for tuning in again, yeah? Yeah, thanks for that.